This story of the shower of stones comes from the book The Visions of the Cailleach by Sorita Este and David Rankine. Any wise person knows you should not get between two arguing giants, as they have a habit of throwing boulders and large stones. And this can clearly be seen in the fight that took place in Ireland between the two Cailleachs. In the distant past, an argument broke out in the parish of Rankine between the Cailleach Bera and another Cailleach, whose name has long been lost to posterity. Suffice to say that they argued to such a degree that they could find no common ground, and they agreed to resolve their differences by a boulder-throwing contest. The two Cailleachs grimly gathered up piles of rocks on top of the two hillocks on the top of Pole Mountain one evening that they used as ammunition for the next day in their stone-throwing contest. The next day they rose early and started pelting each other with stones, exchanging cries as the missiles struck skin and bone. Both became bruised and cut from the damage they did to each other with the barrage of stones. As the contest continued, the Cailleach Bera had a realization and cunningly started throwing her rocks beyond the other Cailleach, deliberately missing her. The other Cailleach seized her chance and threw all her rocks at the Cailleach, hurting her greatly with her frenzied throws and raising many a cry of pain from Cailleach Bera. After a while, when all the other Cailleach's rocks were gone, she looked around in horror. There were no stones or boulders near her, and the Cailleach Bera was left surrounded by a large pile of rocks. At this point, the Cailleach Bera seized the moment and systematically pelted the other Cailleach with these, beating her into a pile of bones with her well-aimed throws. When the locals arrived later in the day, they found the Cailleach Bera stretched out on top of one of the hillocks and bleeding profusely from her injuries. Of the other Cailleach, there was no sign. She had been buried under the pile of rocks thrown by the Cailleach Bera. The rocks thrown by the other Cailleach have long since been swallowed by the marshy land, leaving only a cairn as a memorial to the dead Cailleach and the wisdom of the Cailleach Bera. The authors point out that this story raises an interesting point about the nature of the Cailleach. This tale has a second Cailleach fighting with Cailleach Bera, indicating that the name Cailleach refers not to a singular unique being, but to a class of beings. This, in turn, they explain, brings into question the nature of the Cailleach. For if the name refers to a class of powerful or otherwisely supernatural beings instead of a particular deity, then it sheds a very different light on it. The authors conclude by saying, perhaps, as Anne Ross suggests, we should rather think of the Cailleachs as great supernatural hags, haunting mountain passes and driving their deer over the hills and conferring benefits and evils on humanity as they see fit.